Welcome back to Belonging Songs, your weekly podcast that brings you a brand new original song. Each episode then talks about the theme of that song and the processes that went into writing and recording it, and the revisions we make along the way. I'm your host, Wade Dana. With me, as always, my good friends, Patrick Crane.
Hey, everybody.
And Bradley Maurer.
How's everybody doing? Good.
Good, great.
Glad to hear it.
Glad to hear it.
Coming at you from the virtual world again. There's a raging lightning storm going on behind Patrick. Brad's already lost power once. We tried to also tried to record this episode earlier, had a bad signal, but hoping we can get it in now.
We should write a song about riding the storm out.
Yeah, somebody should do that. So Brad's been trying to get us to listen to this song for months. We've tried and tried and tried to discourage him from making us have to do that, but he finally got through, and we have to do it now.
It's a total piece of shit, whatever, anyway. So
this song, yeah, he didn't care about it anyway, but this song's been on our schedule for at least a month.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Why, it's a dry erase board.
Yeah, it's been up on the dry erase board for quite a while. Obviously, things going on in the world caused us to, have to figure some things out, but
it's been driving me crazy because all I ever want to do, the reason this podcast started and the reason we have made music for 20 years is just to play it for each other.
Right.
And so it really drives me bananas when I'm like, God damn it. I just want to play this for Wade and Patrick and hear what the fuck's going on.
What's that, Brad? Patrick, can you hear him?
No.
Oh shit. He's gone again.
What?
Just kidding. We're gonna listen to this.
Jesus Christ! Technical difficulties. I don't need a fake heart attack. I got enough fucking real ones going on over here.
So Brad, we had like I mentioned, we tried recording this podcast earlier, and we'd gotten into a little bit about what this song was about. So why don't you go ahead and recap us on that?
Yeah, I was explaining earlier that it's definitely not the most original lyrically. It's butterflies, it's goosebumps, whatever, call it whatever you want, like nerves. Mm-hmm. It's a song about that. And so I was just trying to explain a couple of perspectives, things that give you butterflies, tell a familiar feeling and a familiar story in my own way. I had heard something on the radio about, it was a story and somebody was just telling their story. I'm like, oh man, I had butterflies. I was like, oh, that's cool thing to write a song about, even though since then, you might not know something exists, and then when you know it exists, you see it all over the place. I do it with cars. I'll see oh, that's a nice truck, and then you'll see nothing but that truck for the next month. Right? Yeah, and you never noticed it before. It's been that way with butterflies. I'm like, oh, you wrote a song about butterflies, and you wrote a song about butterflies, but I really don't give a shit. This is my take on it, and I like the way this song came out. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it.
We better listen to this before.
Yeah, let's get that part out of the way.
Something happens.
Yeah. So. Probably smart.
So, here it is. Butterflies. All right, cool. Was it worth the wait, Patrick?
Is it about butterflies?
Brad, I think you're really starting to put together a sound with some of your latest songs. I think they're really starting to like become a cohesive part of an album. It sounds like this track, and especially like Wink and Anchor and Wheel, are starting to take on their own vibe and sound, and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. When you said it doesn't sound like anything you'd write, I totally picture this as a middle track
Mm-hmm.
in the album of work that you've been doing recently. I mean, it fits there. What is different is I'm not used to you. We've talked about this before. I'm still not used to you predominantly bringing in falsetto. This is about as close to falsetto as your range gets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a
works.
departure in that sense.
Yeah, it works really, really well. I like your voice in the high range.
I was referring to mainly that. I didn't want to say it early on because I kind of wanted to surprise a little bit. And just like the cadence of the song, like the beat is a little bit different. It's a little more, I don't know if it's not bluesy, but it's just a little more chunky.
I've got some things written down that it reminds me of, if you'd like to hear.
Absolutely.
Like right off the bat, I was like, what does this remind me of? And I think it's like Leonard Cohen type of guitar, like especially like The Future, his song The Future.
Yeah.
Like,
which I love that album. Yeah.
It's got that vibe for sure. And I mean, it's got some Dire Straits sound to it. It's got some Sultans of Swing going on.
I'll sit here and tell you that I like Dire Straits.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Right.
Yeah, I think being compared to Mark Knopfler is
it's
something
fine
to take horribly.
Right. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I like this song a lot. That was definitely a compliment.
Something I really liked that came about kind of organically was there's that guitar in your left ear that just kind of comes in, and it's real like.
Would you say that was a pan job on your
part?
It
was a pan job. Yeah, it was a slight pan job. I want to say it was a 27, 28 left ear.
Okay.
Those are technical numbers. It's the Tube Screamer and the Jazz Master just like chunked up, And I was just kind of noodling with it. It's something that was just like kind of a fill in. And I kept like inching the volume up on it. Like I like that guitar a lot.
That was like the tone once you got it. You're like, I'm going to roll with this.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
I love the sound of the guitar there. I think you might have gone overboard on the volume a little bit. There was a couple points when you were in a higher register that it got a little harsh, but I love the sound of that guitar, whatever you dialed in.
Yeah.
Put a piece of tape on those things.
It's probably over because my fucking Tube Screamer took a shit.
Oh, really?
The switch did. Yeah, so it's a part over here that I got to like do some soldering on it.
You're gonna fix it?
Fuck yeah, it's $179 if I got to buy it.
Those are electronic components, Brad.
What does your tattoo say?
You guys mark my fucking words. This will be fixed. I will repair it, and I will use it.
The Mini's badass.
I'm okay with fixing things like this. It's things like hard drives that I can't see.
BSers, today is April 7th, 2020.
Put it down.
So
yeah, your words have been marked.
Fuck it.
And you've got a fucking another strike coming. So, you know what I thought of when I was listening to this is one thing you've been doing with your vocals a lot for this kind of sound that you're generating is a lot of your chorus and pre-chorus has a slide guitar kind of feel to it, if that makes any sense. But I just love the smooth ups and downs as you're going through scales. It's nice. It's like your voice is another instrument instead of this separate piece of a song called vocals. It just merges seamlessly, and this song's a really good illustration of that.
I've been trying to do that with my, like a while ago, actually, Wade, remember you mentioned we were going through an episode and I was explaining to you like how I did it.
Yeah, I remember. And I had asked you to be like, oh, you should do like 3 of each of those. And is that what you're doing?
Yeah. So I've been trying to do more of them. And then as I've been getting more familiar with effects and compression, and I was telling Wade, I've really been like playing around with compression and just trying to learn about it and not assault with it, but just try to find the sweet
subtlety
spots
in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And just find the range. And I really think with the backing vocals, like it really brings like a smoothness.
It is a very powerful tool and useful tool, especially for that use. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to another podcast, 20,000 Hertz podcast. It is about audio production, and there's an amazing episode on compression.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, me too.
It's really good.
I'm right in the midst of that learning, right? Like I was very afraid of it just because it's really squishy. You can really mess stuff up really quickly with it. The song I'm working on now, which is, I can say without a fucking doubt, a total departure from kind of this sound that I've had up until now. And I'm playing with it in a more artistic way where I'm trying to kind of get a sound with it, and it's kind of working. But that aside, with this, those backing vocals, I think that might be a testament to like that kind of blending and trying to soften those. They would always come out kind of really hard. They might sound nice, but I think getting them to sound like an instrument is part of me playing with the compression and the chorus and the reverb levels, and actually the production end that I've been trying to put into it. I spend a lot of time on those and the harmony guitars.
A little goes a lot way. A little goes a lot ways.
Sage words. I see a new t-shirt.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be good on a t-shirt, right? A little goes a long way. It's taking just a little extra time to tighten up things like background vocals and those guitar harmonies. I know in the past we would both be a little willy-nilly about recording them. We'd like do one, do another one, call it good. But just spending a little more time making sure all the words line up really good and are tight really helps to let them sit better in a mix.
Another thing is with backing vocals, I've never really in the past put a lot of takes into them, kind of adding on to what you just said. Like it's in the background. Who gives a shit? It's just there to kind of be an ambient sound. And I find myself doing a lot of takes of them just because I want them to match.
Right.
A lot of times doing that, part of going back with what you were saying, where take 3 vocals and make them 6 or 9.
Right.
I've made some of them 9. And when I do that many, it'll release a beast and I'll sing it in a completely different way. And I'll get a totally different harmony. And then I'm like, okay, I'll take that and I'll subgroup that. And I'll do 3 of those.
Release the beast.
Release the beast. It's weird. It's really weird how like you'll arm a track and you'll record with the intention of singing something a certain way. But once you have 8 of those that you're singing along with, something else comes out.
Right.
Sometimes I tend to like it. I'll just go with it and add to that and go back and actually pull out some of the ones I've done previously. So
that's cool.
It's cool to hear that those backing vocals and like you guys have mentioned before, the harmony guitars, those are the parts where I think maybe that's cultivating that sound that you guys are being familiar with.
I think both you and I have started throughout this project to kind of hone in on a sound for the group of songs that we've been putting out lately. You had mentioned that about some of mine recently too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. It's really cool how you can listen to your songs and you're like, oh yeah, that's Wade. You know, and I would hope that you can hear mine. We had talked about like I have a hard time figuring out what style it is. Right. I would hope you would hear it and somebody would hear it and go, that sounds like something unique. And what will be fun going forward is to hear how these evolve. Eventually you'll get through whatever phase all of these are kind of in. It'll move into something else, and it's going to be really fun to see where we take them all.
I think we called that Bradcore.
Right, yeah. Brad, your songs are called Bradcore.
Is that what it is? Yeah,
that's the genre.
All right, cool. It's definitely a core, right?
Right.
There was a time there in the late 90s, early 2000s where every genre was a core.
Yeah, and there was umlauts.
Yeah, there was lots of umlauts. There was fucking 7 strings on everyone's Ibanez.
Yeah,
5 on a
core,
bass.
crew core. Crew core was Motley Crue metal.
Well, you know, everything comes back around again, so you're just starting it again, Brad.
With short haircuts.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about some stuff you were using on this, on the technical end.
Yeah, we
you
can
want to go ahead and get technical? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so technically speaking, I'm trying to think, and it's actually it's beneficial that I'm sitting in the room where I created it. So
Yeah, it's not usually the case.
I can kind of look around and be like, okay, what was I doing? We kind of discussed the background vocals and what I've been doing there with compression. This song started with the beat. I had a writer's block deal, and I was just kind of going through beats, trying to cue something up, and I found that beat and it was really light. If you notice in the beginning
There's
of the
like
song, it's
sticks
really,
still, like
yeah,
clicks,
it's just,
right? Yeah.
it's just like a snare side hit,
Okay. Yeah. And I did notice that. Yeah.
but it's real subtle. Like the hi-hat's really quiet and it
Hmm.
just kind of chugs along. And then I tried to accent it with some drum parts, which has been, that's another part of the writing process for me is the bells and whistles with that drum kit.
It's starting to be fun, right? To put them together,
Oh yeah, like earlier songs, it was like, okay, this is the beat,
like
and this
drag and
is
drop and just whatever.
yeah, that's
Right.
gonna be the song. Now I'm like, okay, that's the beat, but it's my template,
Right.
and
Now I need a
I'm
symbol
gonna
here.
fuck
I
that
need
up
this
later.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've really been trying to make it sound like something somebody could play. Where in the past, like with drum machines, the drummer might have needed 16 arms,
Right. Right.
to pull off what he's doing. Like you can't do a fill and a snare trill and and a hi hat. Like, well, yeah, you can. It's a machine. So I've been really trying to do my
bass.
yeah, exactly. Things that I like with drummers, like landing on a snare after a fill or
Right.
starting with a snare. And before I would just do fills and they would be all toms. I'm really trying to focus on getting the snare involved and other cymbals and open hi-hats. And that's one thing that has really, I think, been adding to the dynamic and the fullness of the songs that I've been doing, which is
Yeah, that's something
really
I try
fun.
to be cognizant of when I am doing the drums too, is to not be doing something that couldn't be done. You
Right.
don't want to keep that hi-hat going during the little
Exactly.
fill or something,
Right. So you pull that off, you
Yeah.
drop it out, you can add kicks and things. That's a really fun part. And I've been doing that like kind of just as I go. Part of my process is I'll have the song and I'll be playing and I might sit here with a guitar on my lap and I'll just sit here and listen to it over and over.
Hmm.
I'll just go back and I'll keep hitting the space bar and replaying it and just wait for something to pop to me. And sometimes it's a drum thing. And so then I'll just go back and I'll start editing drums and that'll be a half hour or 40 minutes of that. And I'll give it a rest. So that part's really fun. Guitar wise, after I had that bass, the bass that is the drums down, it was really just chugging along on the guitar. I think it was the Jazz Master, and I used my Stratocaster on it for a little bit.
So do you typically lay your drums down and then start with guitar and then add bass later?
It depends kind of on the song. Like Anchor and Wheel, I had just the little noodly guitar part, and then the bass was really something I wanted to write a song around the bass for that.
Uh-huh.
For these other ones, it's usually like I want to get the drums down, I want to get the guitar down, and I want to get a vocal melody down, and then I put the bass in because I really like to play the bass and have it complement sometimes the vocal melody. I don't want to write it first because it'll divert me from whatever the mission is of the song.
It's interesting because I often will start with bass right after drums and get the groove kind of going, unless I already have like a melody in mind.
Yeah. What I was thinking about doing too, to your point, is I was listening to something the other day about writing an album. And what's really interesting to me is people that write albums, they do all the music and then they sing to it.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that in the past and it's kind of interesting.
Right.
I kind of want to try that, write it out as a verse, chorus, verse kind of song, and then put lyrics on it and just see how different that is than to what I'm doing now.
I do that all the time.
Yes. See, like, I think you do.
Lyrics are usually the last thing I have for a song.
And for me, like it's one of the first. It's like top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll
Dateline all the time.
Well, yeah, but I'll sit in.
Right.
I'll sit in. A lot of times it does. To your point, it starts off with an idea of like I want the song to be about something, and then whatever that song's about is how I want it to sound. And so, like that reverse method, rather than have it sound a certain way and then write something about how it sounds, I flip it. And so like I immediately, once I get I have this guitar part, the song might not be done. I might just have a first minute done. I have to lay vocals down on it.
I took a whole course in college called Writing from the Title. So we would just come up with titles first and then write the songs based on those, which was really cool. And BSers, if you have topics that you'd like us to write songs about, send us the topics or a song title, and we'd be happy to riff off them.
Yeah, that's
Was that
essentially
a Freudian slip? I said it would be having a rip off him.
yeah. That's essentially what I do. You know, like I'll typically try to name the song what it is. Like I'll sit there. We've talked about that before, where I don't like changing the name when I save it. Okay,
Even if it's wrong.
that horse is
Have we
kicked
talked
raw.
about that?
Yeah, that thing is soft. That horse is soft. We've kicked it so much. So I'll sit here and like if I have something that I want to write a song about that is maybe what it's going to be about, I'll go back. I'll Google around for a while and find a new story about that and try to find a phrase or a word in there, and I'll name the song that, and then go from there. Anchor and Wheel, that happened that way.
Home squares.
Home squares, yeah. This one, Butterflies, it was just like, hey, I want to write a song about having butterflies, and even if I didn't say the word, which I end up saying it like 1,000 times, but if I didn't, that's what the song was going to be about.
Well, to me, I still picture you just out in a green field, jumping around, frolicking, chasing butterflies.
Right, yes.
With the blind melon bee girl.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, she's there.
Shout out to bee girl.
Patrick, you've been pretty quiet over there.
Yeah, I'm more just wanting to listen to Brad and his process through this. It's interesting.
Don't give me a break. Nobody wants to listen to Brad.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, we can edit that out.
You know how many people just hit the forward 30-second button? You can stop now. You're safe.
So I'm working on a song right now with Wade, which I started the same way. I wanted to write a song about a feeling, which talk about that.
Oh, I thought we were going to write it about more than a feling.
Oh.
That's after riding the storm out.
Oh, okay.
Then
right.
we'll tour together.
Right.
Do you have like an idea for the lyrical theme of that song?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Not going to say it here, though.
Obviously, yeah. Well, I've only heard parts of it. We're very early in that stage, so I'm excited. Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, and that's entirely new for me. That's hard. I played around with just the intro, because the song actually started with the chorus, which is just something I was feeling while being locked up at home. And so the only part I've sent Wade so far is the intro, which I wanted to capture a certain feeling and just played with that over and over and over again until I actually sensed that, like I triggered that emotion in myself just by playing this intro. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that turns out. So I think you did that successfully, which is what you do. So yeah, I think this song's great. I don't really have any negative critique, except the word butterflies goes on and on a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you guys about that. Like, cause I wasn't comfortable with that.
There's some parts where I think it works really well, but there's other parts where
you space out, right?
It's not that I space out, because the song's more interesting than that. Like I said, I really like the song. It's just that I think there should be more story there.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Because the way I justified it to myself was not a lot of words pop in your head when you're nervous. You're just nervous, and it's like a tick. You know, so I was just trying to like create with the choruses. I was just trying to kind of create like that uneasy, just stale. You get butterflies and they don't go away, and there's nothing you can tell yourself to make them go away. I was trying to just kind of create that awkward.
You know what might be an effective use of an effect actually in the mix would be to kind of flutter that chorus like as tremolo. It builds, like a a tremolo or something. Maybe,
yeah, that's something to think about. And that's why I added at the end, you know, like at the end, it's butterflies, butterflies, butterflies. You know, I wanted it to like boil over, because essentially the way the song is it's about people get butterflies, and one person gave up. Yeah, one person gave up because of them, and the other person, you know, did what they had to do because of them. But the giving up is the main feeling.
I feel like I'm just nitpicking at this point.
That's fine.
I think structurally the song is not just good. I think it's amazing.
I had no issues with any part of the song. I think it's ready to go.
Was there enough intro?
Well, it was more the outro I want to talk about.
Actually, I did want to talk about the outro.
But before we do that, just one more production note, which I'm really curious to hear Wade mix this, if that's where we're heading with it, because there's a little bit of the treble, particularly on that pan left side that I talked about that gets a little bit harsh.
Hashtag pan job.
And again, just to remind you, I don't know if it made that Georgia Tapes episode, but it is in my left ear. And I'll admit my treble gauge over there is probably not very good. So if it is too high, if it's too ripe, just bring it down. Wait, if you mix it, like I get that. But
yeah, Brad, this is another, God damn, you're on a roll.
Yeah, I really do think you are. Your last handful of songs, I've said it a couple times, like, this is my favorite song you've done. I said that with Wink and Anchor and Wheel. Those connected with me more than this one, but I like this a lot. And I think it's solid, and there's nothing I think that it needs other than being finished up with a mix.
This is track 5 or 6. That's exactly where it is on the album.
So back to the outro, I thought this could even be a good candidate for a fade out.
It does fade out.
It does at the end, but I thought it could have sooner.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You thought it could fade out at the beginning.
Right. I'm not saying...
Yes. You mean like 30 seconds start fading.
Right.
Okay.
And that's just...
Got it.
That was just a thought I had, because it did go on a little long.
Yeah. Well, I bring it back around. So it's like 2 choruses and then like a quote unquote outro.
Yeah, you have like an end lift, which I really liked that part. And that's probably shortly after there would be where I'd consider maybe doing that. But
well,
love the transitions in this song. I really do.
I kind of want to listen to it again.
We do that.
Said I liked it. I didn't say it was twice
listening good. Yeah.
Yeah, let's give her another listen.
Patrick, you referring to the keys in the outro chorus?
Yeah.
You guys want to explain what you're talking about?
No.
Yeah. No.
They
No.
can read.
Yeah, seriously. Is the chat not on the podcast?
I was typing notes in the chat just because I don't have a pen handy. The outro and the chorus, I'd like the keys to build a little bit more volume there. I don't want it to overtake your vocals. I'm hungry for that little rolling keyboard riff.
The do.
Yeah. The do.
I did it. What I did, if
I paid attention.
No, if you ever listen to it again, I did, which you might not. There's a mirroring, like a mimicking guitar part in there that is like some harmonies that I added in for where the butterflies part is, just to try to thicken that up. I might not have blended it well enough.
If I may, that's some Hotel California shit going on there.
yeah, absolutely. Which that's the second, or maybe the third or fourth Eagles reference.
You are the Joe Walsh of this podcast.
So. Fucking Joe Walsh, bitch.
You're fucking Henley.
Patrick, remember that time when this guy tried to call me Henley or Fry?
No,
remember
that was
that
Patrick.
Yeah.
That was you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Wade. What the fuck, Patrick?
I would never do that.
You've got the soul of a Henley, but the attitude of a Fry.
Right. Which makes a Walsh.
Brenda or Brandon?
Well, come on now.
So, what's interesting is listening to this the second time through, I actually am now more of a fan of just repeating butterflies and don't want you to change the lyrics. So just a second time through, my ear's a little more attuned to what the song's going to be.
I had a thought that might help too. It's totally subjective, but you could cut the first chorus kind of in half. Just have it do it once without repeating, then go back into the verse. And that would make it a little less redundant. And even at the end, that goes on quite a long time. The one before it gets really big, you could also cut that one in half, and that would like speed up the process to the big part, which might make the repeats a little less noticeable. But Patrick, you said that it wasn't really an issue this time. I was just making notes on it because of what you had said before.
It's just it's a psychology experiment.
Because it is a pretty long song too.
It is, yeah. So it's what, 4 minutes?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt it.
Stay its welcome.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem I would have, I think, trying to solve with that, Wade, would be because of the way it's sung. It's 2-1-1 kind of thing. If that makes any sense. That. Yeah. So I would feel like the chorus would just kind of sound boring and flat if it didn't go the full way around, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. One line sung one way, second line sung one way, and then the third line goes up, and then it comes back down for the fourth line. And if you don't have that whole wave, seems like it might flatten out and just kind of be even more boring.
Okay,
but
that makes sense.
I could try it. I might do like a little global edit and just kind of see what it sounds like. It might make sense.
Yeah, that'd be something you could play around with and then just let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I'd like to hear just some tremolo on that.
Just a little something with a nervous tick on it back there. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be effective for sure.
Okay. I can play around with that too. And then, Wade, if I give it to you, it just might be in there.
I was already getting ideas for mixing that, listening to it. And this is another one I'm really excited to get a hold of. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to mix it and have a good time with it.
What is it, would you say, like, I don't want to go on too long, but just trying to help my mixing ability, if we'll go back to the technical. Mm-hmm. What do you hear in there that like makes it where you're like, I want to do this differently, or this needs to sound this way? Is it just detail things like effects that are on certain things? Is it compression stuff, or what is it that you hear?
Well, I wasn't listening that critically during that. I did hear things that need to be edited where you're doing background vocals and words are ending and you're hearing like in different words, where they end. Yep. I always tighten that stuff up. I wasn't really listening to the mix overall. I was more thinking about what I would do as opposed to like listening to your mix, because I know going in that I was going to get it anyway. So I was thinking of the effects I wanted to put on that chorus to give it that tension.
Okay.
When I go through and say I get a hold of this and mix it, I usually will start with my drums. So I mute everything. I start with my kick and snare. I want to get those sounding really good together. And I'll EQ, compress, whatever I need to do to get those how I want them. Then I bring in the overheads usually to a level where all that sounds good together. And then I'll bring the bass in, same thing, EQ, compress if I need to, and then kind of just keep working through to guitars. Sometimes I'll bring the vocals in then just to hear what I need to do. I've been doing that lately, especially with your songs, because your songs are so vocal melody heavy and dependent that I'll get the drum and bass groove going, and then I'll bring your vocal in.
So that way everything can kind of be built around the vocal, kind of.
And with guitars, a lot of times I will just listen. You've seen me, I scoop a lot of the low rumbly end out of guitars because I want the drums and the bass to be handling that. And I want them to have room there. There's a lot of information when you record a guitar that you don't really need unless you're going through a big, heavy, thick, chunky guitar.
Yeah, those are always the ones I have a hard time pulling away. We've done that before where we've sat down and played around with pulling out the lows. And when you listen to them isolated, like by themselves, you're like,
they sound
that doesn't sound great, right? But then when you put it in with the bass and everything, it sounds twice as nice,
Yeah.
And so I have been playing around with that a little bit because, I do have an ear, like a natural tendency for the lower tone of everything. Like I dread the high piercing and I like kind of low rumbly, but it can get really thick. I'm sure that's a struggle for you sometimes if I give you something that's really thick. So I've been trying to kind of do some of that on my own a little bit with some of these songs. And hopefully when you get them.
So you have been giving me them with your plugins like EQs and compressions instantiated on certain channels. And I always make sure to look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
I usually will take them off and do
better effects than me though. Yeah.
But I want to get a sense of what you've done to get an idea of the sound you're going for.
Yeah.
That's my target, Yeah, sometimes I'll import like we just listened to this track. I'll import that right into my session so I can reference it as I'm going. Say if I cleared something out and be like, wait, what was he doing here? I can listen to it and get an idea of what you've been doing.
Got you. Yeah, I like that. You've done really good at kind of just mopping up my issues and cleaning things up and also kind of putting your fingerprint on it, which I like. Like I do like that element of another set of ears kind of driving the music a little bit. And it's not so, I guess, cumbersome as far as it doesn't make me like a lazy recorder, but it takes a little bit of pressure off when I'm going through an editing where I'm like, oh, well, somebody else is going to look at this too. And, these aren't permanent. So I play around a little bit more because of that.
Yeah. And I think that's how you learn.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about it a lot, but we should get together, especially once all the stuff's
so
done
2021.
We can get together. Like just sitting here when I'm mixing one of your songs is a great way for you to learn a ton.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll be me sitting with you and being like, just letting you do all the stuff. And I'll be there for the extra set of ears,
Right. Yeah. The how abouts we do this kind of thing. So cool. I'm really kind of stoked finally to get this one out the door.
I can already tell this song. I can't wait to mix it because it is, like I said, very much in line with some of the songs you've been bringing to the podcast, and I have had a blast mixing those because I think they're great songs and they've been turning out so good. I've been really happy with them.
This is like the perfect example of what mastering does too, compared to just the engineering, because I think you have a cohesive sound that can really be mastered. So organizing the tracks, transitions between tracks.
Oh yeah. Just listening to some of these songs now, I'm getting an idea of, and this was one of our goals too, was to put out more songs that we use on an album. Because in our past, we've always been like, well, I recorded 20 songs. I guess that's the 20 that are going on this album.
Yeah.
But we're getting to a point where we're going to have amassed a collection of songs that we've written where we're really going to get to pick and choose if we want to put an album together. I mean, I know albums formats are kind of a dead thing nowadays because everybody just releases singles onto the internet.
But they're fucking important.
Some people, I still think they're important.
I disagree with the single playlist. Like even on Spotify, I pay the extra money for the premium so I can listen to that shit in the order that the artist intended.
Exactly. And where I was going with that is like you are really getting, like I've mentioned multiple times on this episode, you're getting a collection of songs that are going to fit together really well as an album.
It's really weird how that's coming together. I'm not sitting down and being like, I'm going to write a sibling to fucking keep her in the ether.
Right.
You know, but
it's a
just
natural
like,
thing that's happening.
Yeah.
When you sit down, and one thing this podcast has done, even though I'm not putting out the output you guys are, is when you sit down and you play day after day, you can't help but to have a cohesive sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. And the way you do it, your tactics and your approach, you know, like right now I have a system that's completely different than it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
But think back to all of your old songs. They all have a sound. Like, and I've said that to you multiple times. You can listen to your old songs, even down to your guitar. Be like, oh, that's Brad's guitar. That's his tone.
Right.
They all had that feeling. And then these have their own thing too.
Yeah.
And it's
I
you.
think it has a lot to do. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you were saying something I was going to ignore. Go ahead.
Well, I think it just says something about it's more about the process that you're using at that time.
Right.
I think is your sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
So like there was a phase there where when I first bought this micro Korg, where everything was really micro Korg heavy because I was writing around it and I liked it. And there's probably 14, 15 songs that are really centralized on that.
So Brad, if you really want to advance your whole setup to a unique thing, Universal Audio, which is the interface that you use, came out with their own DAW today called Luna. So if you want to upgrade all your computer software and transition over to Luna, that might be something cool for you to do.
Yeah, that sounds like something that would just go really smooth.
Yeah.
It's free.
Sounds like just smooth as fuck. I think.
Plug and
Just
play.
not even. I don't see any negatives to that.
Just download it and get rolling.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I don't even think you need to back anything up.
No, definitely don't. Dude, don't do that.
Right. This fucking Joe Exotic lights my fucking house on fire.
Allegedly.
Patrick, we cut you off a couple times. What
were you saying, man?
I honestly don't remember what I was going to say. So.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Patrick.
Oh, I do know.
No, we're going to get out of here. So.
And it actually is unimportant, so we can get out of here.
No, what was it?
I was just thinking, too, you know, it's about the process, but also one thing that I get stuck in, but I also think it shapes a sound around a time, is every time I sit down, my fingers just tend to go to the same spot on the fretboard. While you were working on the last day. And I think sometimes that helps with the cohesive sounds because you get something in the same octave, you get something with some similar root notes, but it can also be a real hindrance, which is what was going on last night when I was trying to write. When you have that writer's block, you just end up doing the same shit over and over and over. And it's like, oh, maybe I'll put this pinky out here. Like, oh, that doesn't work. And it's just interesting because what also helps you can also, you know, be the thorn in your side.
I run into that a lot, but I think what saves me typically is
you're good at
like,
guitar.
No, that's not it. I mean, really, the rhythms on most of my guitars, the rhythms of it, it's there's nothing intricate going on there. It's a couple of chords, you know, and they're all very similar to one another from song to song. But I think what gets you over the hump is you have to sit down when you are feeling a certain way, not necessarily creative. You know, my songs, I think they have a lot of the same sound because I sit down when I'm feeling like I need, like, that's my therapy. You know, that's like what I do when I need help. I'm not a talker. So when I just go upstairs to play guitar, if there's something on my mind, it usually can translate and turn into a song. If I come up here and I'm happy-go-lucky and I'm in a great mood, I get nothing. You know, like typically I don't get anything when I'm like, I'm going to go upstairs and play guitar. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to go, I'll just play covers. You know, I'll just come up here and just play covers for a while because I want to be playing the guitar, but I know that I'm not in a creative space. And so I have to be in that valley for something to connect. It's less about the chords and me playing the guitar and me writing. That was an awesome lightning.
Did you see that?
By the way. Yeah. But it's less about me playing the guitar and it's more about like, I actually have to be willing to put it out there and I have to have that need. Yeah. So even like with your song, you have content top of mind. of what you're going to write a song about, you need to maybe focus more on writing the song when you feel how that song feels,
Right.
you know? And sometimes it just comes in waves. Once you push the roller coaster over the hill, it'll kind of gain momentum and you can finish it without having to feel negative.
Yeah.
But you have to have it. I have to have it for that taking off point.
And as long as we're talking about songwriting and hurdles too, I think the other thing is I tend to have my most output when I get my head out of my own ass and it's like, oh, it's 3 chords and it's a simple progression. Who the fuck cares? If it sounds good, you fucking record it. I mean, look at all the bands that have made their careers out of 3 chords.
That's huge too. Like you want to make like this think piece, right? And you're like, if I'm going to be creative, it has to be hard, but it doesn't. It can be, I mean, who gives a fuck? It's just a couple of dudes.
I fall victim to that a lot.
Well, yeah, but Wade, you play weird shit too, though. I mean, like your style, I mean, we're all, 40s. Our styles they're created, right. We would have to try really hard to play different ways. We would have to literally have time to practice the guitar and learn different things. And sometimes I try to do that just to get out of a rut.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The way I play the guitar is the way I'm going to play the guitar, I think, forever. It might evolve into something, but it's the basis of it is going to be the basis of it.
I'm not going to turn into Yngwie or be doing YouTube videos of Mozart covers.
No, but that's not you. So I think it's important just to remember that you're you. And if you like it, I always notice the songs that, like this song, for example, Butterflies was like one that I ended up kind of putting it on and I would listen to it a lot. And when I do that, like even if I'm sitting in here in the studio and I'm just like, I'm going to go record for a little while, and then I'll pull this up and see if I can add anything to it. If I just am up here listening to it for 30 minutes, usually I know that's got legs,
Mm-hmm.
I only listen to my own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Usually with the windows down, right? I typically listen to my own stuff, windows down, be like, hey, you know who this is?
Yeah.
It's me.
No one else is doing anything.
Yeah, that's right. Pull up to the drive-thru with it blaring. Oh, sorry, let me turn me down.
I really don't think any artists right now are doing anything interesting or new, so I do it for them.
Right. Oh, what's this? That's me.
I wonder if I can make this lightning storm a Zoom background.
Yeah, could you get out of the way of the window? Because we're missing the show.
The best part about it, Wade, is it's coming out of that headstock right there.
Yeah, totally.
That's my Ride the Lightning reissue flag.
Yeah, Patrick has his guitar like right underneath the window, and the lightning just seems to line up with it every time. It's awesome.
How it gets all the magic.
Yeah,
I'll probably play that fucker tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think basically Brad's going to hand this off to me, and I'm going to mix it, and so we're going to jump in the time machine. Uncle Dave said that it's working, so hopefully we'll end up back in this episode.
He went.
Uncle Dave,
he went to Murray's?
The rolls out of the time machine. That was the problem last time.
That son of a bitch.
So,
you can't put fruit in it; it won't run. It's like a human.
Right.
This thing runs on Little Debbie's. Fucking Uncle Dave.
So yes, BSers, we'll be back with you right after this. Set course. To the future! All right, welcome back, BSers. We are back from the past in the future, talking about butterflies.
Tired from that trip. We had to push the time machine half fucking way.
Yeah, it's just not the same as it used to be, is it?
No.
It's like to the
There's all sorts of flashing lights.
Ever since Chuckster came back into Dave's life, it's been just a kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm getting concerned about the old Chuckster being back around a lot more.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so talking about butterflies, when we left this last, Brad was going to hand it off to me to do a mix, which I did, and honestly, I don't remember where we left this off. I don't I don't think we've listened to a mix on the show. I'm pretty sure we haven't.
BSers, if you can let us know where we left off, send us a
BS
message.
at belongingsongs.com.
Listen, let's get down to brass tacks. It was a while ago, and why would we listen to it?
I mean,
to
it's
review.
been a while since we initially recorded on this song, right?
Well, we don't want to do fucking research on our own shit.
Were we in the same room when we recorded this initial song?
No.
No.
This was the first batch of remote recordings?
Either the first or second. Was this the night that Rock and Thunderstorm came through where...
Oh, possibly. Where you
Might have been.
you got the
you had
thunder.
like lightning in the back.
Yeah, my guitar got charged with the power of Thor.
Yeah, that could have been it. I think this was, remember, we tried to do this episode like 3 times, but the fucking chicken kept falling off the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you finally stapled them down.
Yeah. It's like, son of a bitch.
The BSers, we're still fine-tuning our remote recording setup, and Brad has to be in his spare bedroom at his house, not his studio room, because if he's in there, it doesn't work. So he has to take his iPad into his spare room, which is right next to his studio room.
Yeah.
But he gets a good signal in there. That's what we have to work with.
Approximately 20 feet farther from my router.
Yeah.
Brad,
So
left arm raised, pinky finger touching a stud.
let me ask you this. Is the chicken directly above that room?
There is a chicken above this room. Yes.
Okay. Maybe next time move it over the other room.
Yeah.
But the roof ridge probably goes right over that room, so I guess that's where you got to be.
I told you can't splice a chicken, bud. You're going to lose signal.
So, yeah, I mixed this song, and then I sent it to Brad, and I was pumped about this mix. I got it finished, and I took it up out of the studio, listened to it on my iPhone, just sitting on a table. I was like, man, this is translating really well, which is not something I usually feel happens right away. I listened to it with some earbuds, thought the same thing, sent it to you guys.
I gave it the car listen.
Gave it the car listen. I gave it a truck listen. So I was pumped about this. Brad had some reservations about it being a little too bright.
We told him he was bullshit.
Yeah, we told him, get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a qualifying, right? Like, I have bad allergies this time of year, and I was like, I don't know if it's just like my ears are full of bullshit or what, right. But it sounds really bright to me, and it's like very piercing, and I don't know. And sometimes you do, like, your mixes are a little bit brighter than I like.
Yeah.
But I know it's probably right for the song.
But
other people.
I did tone it down a little bit per your feedback. And what else did we do? Was there was some other issue, something that I tweaked?
I remember mentioning something. I'd have to look at the text thread. I probably didn't mean it.
So clearly we prepared to do this revisit the best we could. Does anybody remember when we did this?
This is exactly why we don't talk on the phone, though, and we text so we can remember what the fuck's going on around
exactly.
Here.
This is also why we don't end the recording session with palomas.
Right.
Seriously, though, what was it?
Yeah, I thought I had an additional comment. Maybe not.
Let's take it back. Man, if the time machine was just working a little better.
Ziggy, why haven't I leaped?
Man, we do a lot of texts.
Yeah, we need to stop. We need to stop talking.
It's a daily text.
Okay, here we are. Blah blah blah. B. A lot of texts in between about chickens. Whatever Brad likes, do the opposite. Some talk about Michael Jordan and baseball. Some pictures of chickens on roofs. An Aladdin GIF. The arrow catch rules and charter.
Yeah, I said actually think the guitars in the chorus could go even brighter. Good mix, would smash.
Yeah. I think that was your comment. I don't think there was another.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
No.
I wonder if I
talk about logos.
I wonder if I sent you something personal, Brad.
Let's go to the way.
You send him a dick pic?
Oh no, I did right here. Butterflies V2 in Dropbox. I toned down the vocals and the cymbal EQ a touch, and did those background vocals. Oh, I did background vocals.
Oh, that's it. That's what it was.
I recorded background vocals because while I was mixing it, I kept hearing this part that wasn't there, but I was like, oh man, that's what I hear. So Brad gave me permission to throw down some background vocals on the song, and I did that, and then I made the little EQ touch-ups, so I would tone down the high end a little bit from him, and then he said, I think it's a done deal. And then I replied, cool. And we've got those little changes to surprise Patrick with on the podcast.
Cool.
So here we are.
All right.
Welcome
back.
And then I said, I guess this is why you get 50% of the credit.
That's right. I don't get paid to mix your song, so maybe eventually I will.
Yeah, eventually maybe. Listen for those, Patrick. Wade heard them, and then they're very subtle, but they're very good.
All right, well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Obviously, you could not
Again,
think
it's
of
been
what
a little
was-
while since we've worked on this song. This one's been sitting in the queue for a while to get finished up. So
let's give this bitch a listen.
yes, finished version of Butterflies. And Brad, while I was working on the song, I mean, I know that I said during the initial record, I was like, I really like this. It's not my favorite. I like some other songs better, but this really rose up the charts on my list of favorite Brad songs as I was working on this.
Really?
Yeah, it really just feels like this
You
could
said,
be your
it's
most
like my most
listenable song. Like this
accessible.
should be on the radio for sure. So anyway, let's listen to Butterflies, the finished version.
Harnol Slin's Top 40. Top 40.
Now we got to do that show. All right. One other thing I added now listening to that is the butterfly effect or the flutter effect after they've multiplied and carried me away. That was another thing.
I wrote that note. That's a phenomenal bit of production. I like that a lot. This song is totally different with those subtle changes. I agree with you, Wade. This song went up from, again, I felt the same way. I didn't think this was Brad's best work when I first heard it. I thought it was good, but wouldn't have
Now you tell me.
What?
Fuck.
I think this is like one of the best songs he's got now.
This song is phenomenal now.
So my wife came down here after I mixed it, and she was listening, and her comment was, "Oh my gosh,
yeah,
this is like a song that would be on the radio," which I mean, usually we don't think of as a good thing, but I do, and this, especially after mixing it. And
I love the now with the production, the rhythm section is incredible. It's got that radio, you just want to kind of dance and bob your head to. In fact, we were all dancing when it was playing.
The Zoom meeting was basically just three heads bobbing throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this in the initial record. This song already sounds familiar.
Yeah.
In which I think gives it that quality that we're talking about. Like, this is comforting. This has a groove, and this sounds like something, I already know this song, but in a really good way.
Yeah, and it's groove on top of groove, because like I said, that rhythm section gets you right away, and then the lead guitar, that gets in your head, and then your fucking vocals get in your head, and Wade, I do like the background vocals a lot.
Oh, thanks.
And you have to be paying attention, but you can tell they're there, and they're definitely add to the song.
The beauty of those is how much they add without being so recognizable.
I tell you, I heard those every time I ran through this song. I heard those in my head, and I was like, I just they have to be there.
Yeah,
there was obviously a space there, and like it needed it. It just I didn't know what it needed.
Wow, this is good. This is really good.
I'm gonna say one thing that's gonna maybe be a little discouraging and maybe cause this to not be finished. I think this song could really use some shakers in the beginning.
we were both.
We were doing the shaker thing. Like, I might add some grooviness to it. What do you think, Brad?
Put them in there and throw it at me.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Thumbs up. Yeah. Well, what? Yeah, I got shakers now.
I got a shaker guy. We can bring him in.
I mean, put in what you. If you hear something, put it in there and throw it at me. I'm easy. Like I think you're right, but I think. It's just that it's so simple. Mm-hmm. Like the song's so simple, and it's about something so common.
Might get a little too into Eagles territory if we throw shakers.
Yeah, but I obviously have no qualms about getting into Eagles territory. If every song you're like,
this is another Eagles one that lands there for me. I love this song, man. I really do. Like the more I listened to it and the more I worked on it, the more I liked it.
Yeah, it's really grown on me too. In fact, that the car listening session, I listened to it 2 or 3 times when I was driving home from work, and it just grows on you, and it's to bring back the earworm thing. It's a freaking earworm.
The repetition of it, I was really worried about.
Me too. Me too. That's
I remember Patrick, you commenting on that before, like.
Yeah, and now that it's all together, it fucking works. It's weird how those subtle changes just made it so much tighter.
It goes to show you like what production means to songs. Mm-hmm. You know, like we've talked about it before, just the fact that like one person working on something is really detrimental to the song. Like I don't necessarily always think that like self-produced albums and things are the best, because I'm like, well, what could that have been?
Right.
You know, it's really great, but what could it have been? This whole process and this collaboration, Wade, with all of his knowledge on what he has done and has learned and has obviously learned through even this process in the short amount of time we've been doing this, it adds so much to every single song. It's really great for me as somebody who writes songs and doesn't necessarily want to finish them and polish them to go, here, like, let's see what you do.
It was really great for me to get free mixing and production.
That's not how I meant that. But like I would struggle being you, Wade.
I love working on your songs because I love taking them from where you bring them to. I listen initially and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so fucking great when I can elevate it there. And I love doing that because I love your music. It's a great joy for me to be able to get them to that level where we're all like super pumped about it now, and other people can be too. Because I think your music deserves to be heard, and I've always felt that way.
Like I would struggle being you because you don't get that luxury of going here. Like, what do you hear in this finished product? You know, you have to ride the whole thing because
you guys have been helping me a lot, like with decisions in songs, and it's something I'm trying to be better about. Yeah. Like recently we made the decision, and I don't know why it took so long, where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to mix the song and like pretend it's done when I bring it here initially. Yeah. And that speaks to what you're saying because it needs to go through that process.
Yeah, that's what we talked about before we decided to do that with your stuff. Before it was just like, good job, guy. You know, but now it's like, here's what I hear, and you don't have all of this time. Every suggestion after you have all that time in, it's a weight, and you're just going, oh God, like I have to undo all of this shit that I did, and I don't want to do that. So if you bring it in not finished, it's so easy just to add it or take shit out or do whatever.
Get so excited when I get a mix done. Like I was so pumped about this that I just can't wait for you guys to hear it. And then I'll send it off and I'll just be like waiting. Like, oh, it's been 2 minutes and they haven't said anything. They hate it. Yeah. But no, it's a really fun process. And I like I said, I had so much fun on this song. I basically fell in love with this song while working on it. And I think it turned out so good. Like I think it's one of my better mixes. And I think it's because it's such a good song that it was able to get to that level.
And to your credit too, Brad, on, you know, something that some of the listeners may not realize, you know, when they hear that we're using an electronic drum plugin, but just the amount of understanding of how the rhythm works in the song that you bring to the software. Like when I'm listening to this song, you've successfully made it, again, sound like live drum. You just feel like there's a cohesive band there instead of a machine because you like to build in these little subtle fills, ghost notes kind of thing. And so it's really sharp and sounds like a really tight band, but doesn't sound robotic. I think that should be to your credit too.
I love doing that because I can hear beats and I know kind of where I want to beat. It'll start with something that was either the genesis of the song, which is like a good kit or a good beat, but it's good to go in there and strip it. It's cool to hear you say that because I always try to humanize it. Like the last thing I wanted to do is sound like this fucking robot playing the drums. I try to move levels around because I think when you hit a snare drum, you're not going to hit the same way. You're not going to hit 82 fucking decibels every time you hit a snare drum. So I like to move it around a little bit and just like play around. So I really enjoy doing that. And I think I've gotten a lot better at that. I've only had that for a few months. So I think in doing that and playing around with it, it's actually made me a better musician. And I think, like Wade's commented on in the past, like what my songs sound like. He's like, you know, like you have like this style going on. And I think that has a lot to do with the kit and the drums and me being a part of the drumming in a way that's not just like, okay, like before on the drum machine, it was, I will program a little beat. I'll hit the play button. It's going to play that beat for as long as until I tell it not to play that beat anymore, you know? And I go through and I can actually on this, it's MIDI. You can pull things out. You can put things in. You can shift things around.
That's XLN Addictive Drummer we're using, or Addictive Drums. And yeah, I'm also using that same program, and you can really dive deep into that, and it's been really fun and a game changer for us.
Yeah. And not to say, I mean, obviously the ultimate human drums especially with the people we play with,
Mhm.
Wade is the best.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be able to put
This
anything
podcast out.
No, like there's absolutely no time. So like, I mean, we know what we are in real life, and I'm not a full-time musician. I don't
Right.
have time to do that. And so you have to make the best of your situation. That's what these are. That's what these songs are.
Yeah, well, this one turned out really good.
Right. Well, it's all right. I didn't respect it very much, but it's pretty good.
Of course not. I didn't either.
No, actually, what I wanted to say is the same feeling you guys had with it, where like you weren't sure and then you liked it.
Mhm.
Is exactly how I felt when I was writing it, because I knew I had a concept I wanted to write about, and I had music and things like that, but I didn't take it to a whole lot of different places, and I ended up just loving where it fell, just with the repetition and the build and just the simplicity of it. I ended up really liking, and so I didn't bother changing it. And
I think that's a good example of you feeling a certain thing while you're recording it. And we didn't initially get it, but once the song was like polished and finished, that all came through.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's something maybe I got to work on, is figuring out how to deliver that. And I think maybe sometimes it might be a detriment because I don't necessarily put in 110% on the production end of it, because I know somebody's going to be doing something with it.
Right.
So I pull it back. But on this one, I think it worked out really well because it was really close to where it wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just kind of highlighted all of the good things and fixed the bad things. And it's right where it needs to be. I'm really happy with the mix. And on the brightness note, no issue today. So
No.
I think it must have been my ears. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think the mix is perfect.
Yeah.
When I was listening to it, I was changing all the EQ settings on my end. So
Right. Yeah. Were you bass boosted?
I did. I hit the bass boost switch on the side of my Discman. Drained all 8 of my fucking double A's, bro.
Yeah.
So in the past, I would mix songs for days, weeks, or months at a time. And I had a little spare bedroom studio here, and it wasn't set up properly. And I do a mix, and I take it out to the truck, and that's where we talk about taking it to the truck. Take it to the truck. So because you listen to a lot of music there, so you know what it should sound
Everybody
like.
does. Everybody does.
My car actually has the best sound system I own.
So I would do that, and I'd take it out to the truck, and my mixes would sound just horrible. And I'd have to take like extensive notes on this needs to come up, this needs to come down, this, that, this, and the other thing. And it would take me forever to get a mix right. This Butterflies mix was about 5 or 6 hours down here in the studio, which I've been tweaking and trying to get to sound good. And with all the practice, thanks to this podcast and mixing, it was 5 or 6 hours, one sitting or one day. And this mix is that end result. And I took it upstairs, like I said, listened to it on a few different systems, took it to the truck, and was really happy with it on all platforms. So I was really pumped about that.
Sounded great on my Teddy Ruxpin.
Simon says sounded real good too.
Yeah.
Beep, boop, beep, butterflies.
My Home Alone 2 Talk Boy. Or was that Spy Kids? I don't even know what that was on.
I don't think.
So
Wrong guy.
I think we're done here. I mean, we could throw shakers, we could throw bells and whistles, but this song is effective as is.
Yeah.
I think I don't know that it really needs that.
Yeah, send it to Carson Daly. He'll do the next steps.
I don't think it's TRL ready.
Where's all the hugs I'm supposed to get?
Yeah.
We'll pilot it on the grind with Eric.
Yeah. There it is. Start early.
Calling it good? Calling it done? Boom.
Oh, she's done. We'll just play the Shakers live. That'll be a special treat for the audience.
Yeah. Something for the backup singers to do.
Brad, did you have something to say there before we get out of here?
No, I just thanks again. I really like that, where the song landed.
Thanks for writing it.
That's it. Yeah.
BSers, if you like this song, please leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It would really help the show to reach new listeners And we've been talking a lot lately about the goals that we want to set for this show, and we'd really love to get it out there to more ears. So if you could help us with that, we would appreciate it. And we thank you so much for listening in the first place. It really means a heck of a lot to us. That's why we do this, and that's why we're going to continue to do this, because we love it, and we just want to share our work with you. So thank you. You can hear the before and after versions of these songs on our website, belongingsongs.com. Go to the songs page. You can also leave us a message there on the contacts page, or send us an email directly to bs@belongingsongs.com. Feel free to check us out on Instagram. We spend a lot of time there getting silly, posting funny stuff. We've got some new ideas for that platform as well moving forward. We want to maybe put together our Let's Get Technical packs for you, showing you all the gear that we use on our songs, and maybe even putting some extra content out there as we come up with it. So, as always, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you here again next week. I just turned on my phone from airplane mode, and I got a message from your wife, Brad, that says, "Did he just yell Thunder Lips?"
I did. Yeah, that's good. Boom, done. Next.